Local government elections are fast approaching. Some political parties and independent candidates have begun campaigning. Voters will have one last chance to register to vote in the November municipal elections, and that chance is this weekend. The Independent Electoral Commission is expected to brief the media about its readiness, and that's coming up at 2 p.m. At the same time, over 900 independent candidates will contest the local government elections on the 1st of November. This will once again open the door for possible coalitions to hold power in certain towns. South Africa has a history of failed coalitions causing tensions in municipalities, such as the DA EFF situation in Johannesburg. Not really a coalition technically, but support. And that happened also in Nelson Mandela Bay and in Tshwane. It's always complicated, and jostling behind closed doors seems inevitable come November the 1st. Political scientist Susan Booysen has released a book with her colleagues at Mistra. The name of the book is called Marriages of Inconvenience: The Fraught Politics of Coalitions in South Africa. She joins us now to talk about this and other issues. Prof, thank you for your time. Am I correct in saying that this is a joint effort by you and your esteemed colleagues at Mistra, the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflections, and importantly, what it is based on evidence that you have gathered from observing the coalitions, certainly in the last 5 years or so?
Yes, certainly, Thulasizwe. Thank you very much. Mistra is the publisher of the book, and I edited this book for them, together with 15 authors that we gathered, a range of specialists who came together and pulled their research and expertise. And I think it's a quite comprehensive and very useful picture that can guide coalition politics in South Africa going into the future that emerges from this book. We offer the evidence show not just how frequent coalitions have really been, also in South Africa. They're in a range of about 30 per local government election, ranging over time between provinces as the political power of the parties shift. And they have been, however, very unstable. Not the best form of government, but then a form of government that one has to live with, given that it was actually the mandate of the voters, the decision of the voters collectively in any of these entities, municipal entities, their decision not to grant one political party an outright mandate to govern, but rather to say the several parties are equally or roughly equally trusted in this municipality, come together, govern together. But then we know once those elections are done and the political parties have their mandates, they interpret those differently, and among others, and that's disconcertingly so, as a continuation of election battles, and they often try to defeat their opponents, party political opponents, through coalitions when they had not been able to do that in the local government elections. And this time around, that will certainly go ahead, those processes, because we see, of course, the ANC as the overwhelmingly dominant party hitherto in South Africa. They have been declining on a jagged downward curve, yes. Sometimes they recover a bit, but they have been declining. And now the question is, will they, come the local government elections, reclaim positions as a few of the by-election results in the past year in COVID times have suggested? Or, for example, will the fiascos of the last few weeks in the ranks of the ANC, and those continue today, will they be influencing voters to again turn away from the ANC and give new opposition parties? There are not many significant potential national players in their ranks, but then a good sprinkling, and more than in the last election, but not dramatically more, of independent candidates. Will they then be thrown into the mix? And as we see in this Mistra book on coalitions, the small parties and here and there an independent or basically a community party can play a big role to fill in those little gaps to help the bigger parties to get outright majorities in alliances or coalitions then, and govern on that basis. So I think the overall picture is, again, a huge amount of instability and problems forming many of these coalition governments after the election results get known.
So one of the things that the executive director at MISTRA, Joel Chitenje, says in the preface there is that while instability in coalitions is not unique, it is not inevitable. In that sense, then, the example is cited in your book there of the coalition in Ekurhuleni. And in fact, so stable as the coalition there that I had even forgotten that actually there's a coalition in place that is led by the Mayor Mzwandile Masina and the ANC there, with some smaller parties participating. But Ekurhuleni seems to be the exception to the norm, with Nelson Mandela Bay being the other extreme, that it went from a DA coalition, went to the UDM, went to the ANC, and back to the DA.
Yes, indeed. And first, just on Ekurhuleni. Ekurhuleni is quite an easy one because the ANC came just short by a few seats of an outright majority in that council. It has got a working coalition with a few of the small parties, but its big chance and task. But his chance was to align up with the African Independent Congress with his 4 seats at the time of 2016 local elections and form a pretty stable coalition just to keep the AIC happy. The ANC has managed to do that. And yes, and that is unlike the other metros like Johannesburg, Tshwane, and exactly Nelson Mandela Bay. Huge amounts of instability, bargaining, shifting of alliances, and parties, a micro-party in that council, like the Patriotic Alliance, for example, gaining extremely disproportionate power, as in many other coalition councils, because it is in a king or queen making position, and just its vote is enough to bring that coalition together, to keep it in government. And this is one of the points where MISTRA's publication is also, I believe, quite good at showing where can changes possibly made, even within the system that we have at the moment. And if we do not look at party political culture, of course, that is a big one where political parties have to look at themselves and look to what extent they themselves are not good partners in coalitions, partners good in the sense of bringing constructive, cooperative, developmental government to those municipal entities. But that the political parties can also see they have to look, for example, at the municipal executive system. Right. Something that holds very good prospects is, example, choosing a collective or proportional executive system, and instead of a mayoral, more majoritarian kind of system. Because
Professor
if
Susan
it's
Booysen,
proportional, then each executive is basically already an alliance.
All right, thank you for that, Professor Susan Booysen there. Thank you for your insights. I look forward to more engagements with you, and the book is absolutely stunning. I managed to just skim through it, and it got me thinking about that iconic moment when they were voting for the budget at NMB, Nelson Mandela Bay, a few years ago. Athol Trollip was mayor, Mongameli Bobane, the late Mongameli Bobane, was deputy mayor. The whole coalition voted in favor of this budget with their hands raised high dramatically, and very dramatically, Mongameli Bobane kept his hands and arms firmly planted on the desk. I'd hope to have that ready for you to show you just how symptomatic and emblematic it is of the problems that you sometimes encounter in coalition governance.